and grow my business. So,
Okay.
so whatever medium that I can connect with the most people,
Right.
that's what I try to figure out ways that it can benefit me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's smart. Okay, we on live now. I'm gonna go ahead and all right. Let me see here. Okay, we on live. Let's see here. I feel like I see something frozen here. Let's see what's going on. Okay, I'm gonna go back to Zoom here.
So who's not?
Okay, praise the Lord. Huh?
Who's not gonna be on? Just Miss Diana?
We're on now. We're live now.
Okay.
All right. God bless you. Christian, this is Christian Viewpoint. I'm your host, Dorian Saunders. Happy New Year to you. Hope you guys had a great holiday.
And I guess mine on for making cancer fun.
I hear something else going on. All right. Let's see here. Well, it says I'm live on Facebook. Go to my page, Carlita. It says I'm live on Facebook.
Let me see. Hold on.
I'm live on Facebook right now.
Okay.
You see me? Okay. And hope you guys had a good holiday. Carmen, if you're listening, you can go ahead and tell Michelle to come on because we're going to start it up. So we're talking about money and the church. And I believe we're gonna learn some things tonight. All right, and so the reason why I brought this up because of course we need money for the church to run, but you should not have a love or worship for money. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil, and so there's a balance that we need to have when it comes to money and the church. Okay, so did you have any thoughts on that, Troy? While our guest is getting ready to come back on.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts is, the Bible says the love of money is
right. The love
or the genesis of all evil, and Jesus talked a lot about money. And the Bible says where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And you can really tell by someone what's really a priority by their checkbook. Find out where they're spending money. And that's an indicator or thermometer of what a person values.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a few topics I want to touch on. The love of money, serving God and money, can't do that, obviously. Giving to the ministry and ministers, our tithes and offerings going to the right place, and even tithing in general. Some people don't really believe that you have to tithe, but you should give. And then we're going to talk about musicians be paid. Now I don't know how far we'll be able to go in these. We might have to extend this because when you start talking about people's money, it can get passionate, and stuff like that. And there's a lot of opinions.
Right.
So
I got something to say on that.
How that works. What'd you say?
I got something to say on that about musicians be getting paid too.
Am I on?
I don't see you.
Okay. Sherry, how you doing? Let's see here. I see this is Sherry on there. Prophetess.
I don't see her live in her background today. She just doing a photo today?
Well, yeah, I see her face. That means that she's on the way. She's on the way, yeah. So we and I appreciate y'all patience. We've been having a little technicalities that we're trying to work through today. But we'll be running in a little bit. I guess this is about money, and This is how the devil likes to fight people. So maybe this is one of the reasons why we're having this issue. Let me see here. There you go, Sister Sherry.
Hey, how are y'all?
Good. How you feeling?
Good.
Good. I'm just making sure I'm actually on because my wife's telling me I'm not showing, so I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Make
sure when you for some reason live say only me. Okay. Yeah, here. Okay, cool.
Happy New Year, Prophetess.
Happy New Year. How are you?
I ain't talked to you since last year.
I know, right?
Are you gonna use that same 40 line again?
Yeah, I would keep using it. I use it every year.
Right.
Okay. All right. So let's bring on Michelle. Carmen, where you at? Go ahead and bring Michelle Fisher on because she has some things she wants to share with us. And I had her on earlier, but we had some technical issues, so I told her to go out and then come back in.
Okay.
So you say yes, I'm doing what you normally do, Sister Sherry. I went ahead and upgraded.
Yeah.
And I think that's prophetic because God wants us to upgrade.
You took the words right out my mouth. Man. Come on now.
So, hey Dorian, so you upgraded and went for the paid one?
Yeah. I went ahead and upgraded with the paid one so that we can do other things with that is on.
I kind of got
my page.
Is it private?
Yeah, when you go to Zoom, when you first when you go to Facebook Live, make sure it's not set to only me. Yeah. And sometimes you gotta change it to I don't know why. I guess it does that so you won't be so you can like really
okay, so I can
control when you're on.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay.
You know what? That happened to me.
That's what the problem is.
Yeah, I learned that too myself. I was just like, why ain't nobody commenting?
You know what? That's good. That's actually good.
Yeah.
Because we've been fumbling over the past few minutes, so that's good.
Yeah, it is.
January 1st, I did a video using live using Zoom and on Facebook, and I'm like, what's going on? But not only that, I had about 4 posts was just on. So I had to go back to the post.
Oh wow!
And change those also. So I don't know if it was an update and that happened. But yeah, agreed.
I've done that before myself.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Let me go ahead and try to get that straight.
Okay.
So now that screen that I was on when I first came on, I don't see it here. It's like that Facebook producer page, whatever.
Right.
I don't even see it now.
I don't know how to get back to it though.
Yeah. Let me see. All right. So that's why I could see it and my wife couldn't see it because it was on only me. Okay, I'm going backwards now.
Okay.
Okay, it says okay, so I see the live here. We've been live by 8 minutes. Let's see. Okay, Christian Church. Close that out. See, that's probably why a lady couldn't come on.
I don't see the Dorian.
Yeah, I know you don't see it. I'm about to fix it right now.
Okay, only me. Okay, got it.
Now you should be able to let her in.
Okay, now, okay. I made it public now.
Okay, cool.
All right, so today we're talking about money. Okay, my wife is going like this.
Yeah, there we are.
That means we're up and running.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Carmen, if you're there, go ahead. I'm gonna let Carmen know. Bring her on. All right, let's see. All right, so what are your thoughts? Prophet and Sherry, what are your thoughts? We were talking about, how the love of money is root of all evil, and but basically you need money to run the church, but the problem is, the problem is a lot of times that becomes people's God. It becomes too overly into that. So what is your take on that?
I agree. There's a balance, like everything else. There's a balance to it. I do believe that the Lord wants us to be prosperous. I believe He wants to be wealthy. He gives us power to get wealth. But again, like you said, the problem comes when it's the love of money. When it becomes you can't serve God and mammon. That's where the problem comes in when you start trying to serve money or everything you do is about money. If you do what you're supposed to do, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of His righteousness, all these things shall be added unto you anyway. God already promised that He would supply all of our needs according to His riches in glory. So that means anything that we need, God will already provide. I'm glad that He's a graceful God, and he lets us get a few of our wants too. But it's when it's like the old saying, you can have things, but don't let the things get you. Don't let the things have you. That's how I feel, about
Right.
the church and money. And it's like you said, but the church also it does need to have money. There's another side, and as a former pastor, I can speak to the other side where people they come and they have the attitude they come from someplace else. Perhaps it's like, oh, all the church wants is money. When we start teaching about tithing and we start teaching about giving, amen, and then you can feel people start to tighten up. I'm like, you can't assume that every preacher at the same time is money hungry or crooked. I've always had the mindset I'm gonna have my own business because these church folk ain't never gonna be able to say they bought Sherry nothing.
Right. Right.
Agreed. What you're saying. Here's what I found. This is in general. This is not everybody, but in general in church.
Yeah, we're about to bring on Michelle as soon as you finish. So come on.
Okay. People look at the church is, hey, I have a problem. I have a need. Let me go to the church. The church should help me when I'm in need. But remember, the church is not a bank. You can't take anything out of an ATM unless it's put in. And many times people want to receive, but they don't ever want to contribute. Many times the people that are actually in need are the ones that actually supporting the church. Yeah. And they don't go to the church. And the ones that a lot of times that are not in need or don't support the church are the ones coming to the church. I'm talking from personal experience.
You're right about it.
I've been assistant treasurer for my church 25, 26 years. So I've seen a lot. And many times it's a 911 emergency. And if the church doesn't help, the church is not showing love. They don't care about the people. But it has to be a balance. And then people have to support in order to have something to come out.
That's right.
That's absolutely right. All right, well, Michelle, where you at here? Where you at, love?
I'm right here.
Okay, so we'd like to thank you for coming out. We have Michelle Turner. She is our special guest this evening, and we appreciate her so much. And one of her strengths is in finances, so she's gonna share with us a little bit about wealth management and basically wealth growth in the church, because that's something that we do need. And then we're going to go into some other things. So, Michelle, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone, and my name is Michelle Turner. So I'm going to talk more about the basics of budgeting and stuff like that, because I think we want to deal with wealth management when we have poor money management. And if we have poor money management, there's not going to be any wealth to gain or to manage. So I'm just going to talk about some basic stuff like that. So the first thing I want to start with is there are a couple different methods that you can do to start your budgeting. And once you get everything under control, then you can start to build up your wealth. So first, I'm going to actually deal with the emotional aspect of it, because I think a lot of times we don't deal with the emotional aspect of budgeting and debt and finances and things like that. So what happens a lot of time is we will be focused on like how we feel, and when we feel down or when we feel depressed or stressed out, we'll typically spend our money in areas that we shouldn't be spending our money in. We'll go buy clothes to make ourselves feel better, buy shoes, buy fast food, or whatever it is that you want to spend your money on. Typically, we will use that as a way to kind of like make ourselves feel better. In reality, because we're Christians, we should be seeking the Lord and, seeking that. And I'm an advocate of therapy. So if it's that deep of an issue that you need therapy and Jesus, do both of them. So, if it's that serious, if like where you having like really PTSD or emotional trauma, definitely seek therapy, because that could be one of the issues, because it may not be money mismanagement. It could be that you have you're using money to fill an emotional need due to something that has happened to you in the past. So definitely look at your emotional side of it, what's going on in your life, what's happening. Look at things around you. So I always tell people to write down everything they spend. So there's a couple things you can do. You can either write it down on paper, keep all your receipts, and then write down all of your expenses, or you can download Fudget. It's Fudget. It's an app that allows you like put your income, your bills. You can put everything that you spend, and it keeps track of how much you spent and how much money you have left over. So that's a really good app, especially in the digital age. You can go ahead and use that. So you can keep track of all that. And then you can kind of like look at, well, I spent $400 here that I wasn't really supposed to spend. Like, is there an emotional issue that was going on? Was I feeling, down? Was I depressed? Was I thinking about something? Did something happen that caused me to spend my money? So you have to look at that aspect of it too. Is there something within me or something that was going on that caused me to, spend this amount of money, or, make these large purchases that was unnecessary? So we have to look at the emotional aspect of it first. Then I would say start writing down for 30 days straight before you start getting into budgeting, how you're going to spend your money, what you're going to do for 30 days straight. Don't change your spending habits too much unless it's like going to cause you to get evicted. And write down again everything that you spend for 30 days, for a whole month.
All right, so I missed something. So you said for 30 days, you said don't change your spending habits too much unless, what was that?
Unless you're about to get evicted or you're about to
hello.
Right. Don't really change your spending habits too much, because we'll have a tendency to like kind of change our habits because we know we're tracking ourselves, and then we're not realistic with our budget because we changed our habits, and then we won't stick to our budget. So for 30 days, write down everything that you spend, no matter if it's $1, 50 cents, if it's cash, if it's on your bank card, your credit card, whatever it is you spend, make sure you write it down, and write down the method that you use for your payment. So if you use a credit card, put credit card. If you use your bank card, put debit. If you use cash, put cash. That way you can kind of track as well, like where are you spending most of your money? Because if it's your credit card, that's a problem, because you're messing up your credit and you're going deeper into debt. So write that out. At the end of those 30 days, then you'll start to make yourself a budget. So when you make a budget, you have to look at what kind of, if you know that you'll just swipe your card just randomly for everything, a cash budget will probably be best for you. If you know that you have a little bit more discipline, then you don't have to necessarily do a cash budget. And I'll get into different budgeting types too as well. So write down everything you spent. So write down your actual income at the end of those 30 days. Write down your income, no matter if it's from like you got a side hustle, your employment, if you own a business, how much ever money you bring in, make sure you write it all down, and make sure you do your net, not your gross, because you will mess yourself up trying to do off gross. I've met people who tried to budget off their gross, and it turned out bad. So
let me ask you this real quick. So when you said to write down your income, are you also talking about, let's say, like tax returns, or if you got a financial gift or something like that, you include that as well in your financial income for that month or that week?
No, not for your initial budget. When you're first starting off, don't include any of that, because you want to make sure you set a realistic budget with what you get on a consistent basis. So when you get tax returns and stuff like that, if you're in debt, I suggest to put it towards your debt. Unless you're trying to build your sinking fund, then I would say put it towards your sinking funds, and then start putting it towards your debt. So
you said sinking fund?
Yeah, we'll go over all of that too.
Okay.
Yep. So So the next thing you should do is to put out all your income. Once you write out all your income, then write out all your bills, your mortgage or your rent. If you have a car payment, how much you spend for gas, your groceries, your household products. You'll see, you could look at your budget and see what you spend. And you have to, again, be honest with yourself. If you know you eat out a lot, then I would suggest that you try to buy groceries and just be more realistic with what you spend on groceries and try to eat at home more. But if you know that's not going to be realistic for you, be very realistic in your budget and set aside money for groceries and for eating out. If you know that you like to treat yourself to Starbucks, put it in your budget so that way you won't mess up your budget. That's why I said make sure you track everything you spend. I don't really like Starbucks. It's just what most people like. That's why I said them. But make sure
and what you said is key. It's good to have a realistic budget because sometimes we can get a little too zealous, and then our budget that we set is not realistic, and then we just quit altogether. So that was something key that you said. A realistic budget. That's good.
Yep. So that's why I say That's why I said be honest with yourself. Don't really change your spending habits, so that way you can be honest with yourself when you make your budget categories. And I always tell people to make a personal category for themselves. That can be $10, it can be $15, whatever it is that's going to work for you. Because if you want to do something for yourself, it's still nice to do stuff for yourself. I would never be like, cut everything out. Now, in extreme instances where you're like in debt, you're about to lose everything, I will say, hey, cut everything out. But if you're not, then just be honest with yourself, because as you grow and develop, you'll want to start to cut stuff out when you start seeing like your wins in your budget and like you can see your money growing. You'll want to do it on your own. But starting out, I would suggest to just be very honest with yourself on where you are and set your budget for that. So whatever your budget is, do that. So there are different kinds of budgets that you can have. So there is the cash envelope system where you put all your bills in cash envelopes and you pay your bills. You put like every envelope is for whatever category you have. So you'll be like personal will have $25, groceries will have $400, mortgage will have $1,000. Whatever it is that you pay, you'll put it in envelopes and you'll pay your bills that way. Most people aren't good with cash, so it doesn't work for everybody. But if you know that you'll just swipe your card endlessly, it'd be good to kind of have a cash envelope budget, or you can just have automatic payments for your main bills. That way, you know when they're coming out. And plus, it's another thing to do is when you're doing your budget, look at the due dates on your bills. Make sure you put all the due dates down for your bills. Look at your due dates. Is most of your bills coming out the beginning of the month? Is it enough money to cover, for all those bills that may come out the beginning of the month? If it's not, can you call your creditors? Can you call your bills and change your due dates so that way it won't be so stretched at the beginning of the month, and then you have all this money at the end of the month, and if you don't carry it over, then it's still going to be a problem every month. So maybe you need to change your stuff around. You can also call your car insurance, your life insurance, your cell phone bill, your cable company, and see if you can negotiate lower prices on your bills as well, because that way you'll have more money in your budget to save. Like I call my cell phone provider once a year and always like, I know y'all got something better. I've been with y'all for like 20 years. I've had the same number forever. I know y'all have a better package I can get. And I typically get my cell phone bill lowered every year. Even with the cable company, I'll call them and be like, hey, y'all got some better packages. Can I get something cheaper? And I'll typically get something cheaper there. My car insurance, I pay it once a year, which is I do it from a sinking fund, but I pay that once a year. So my car insurance always go down lower anyway. But because I pay it once a year, I typically can call them and be like, hey, is there lower rates that I can get? And they'll typically check, and I'll typically get a lower rate with that as well. So, and also look at I have, look at your entertainment categories. Like a lot of us have Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, all of those things. If you're not consistently watching them, I have them all too. Consistently watching them, look at the ones that you make and cut out. If you watch them all consistently, then don't worry about it. But if you have Hulu and you don't watch Hulu, get rid of it. If you, pay for extra storage on your iPhone and you don't need it. I have Android because we don't have those problems. But
Come on, Android. No, that's right.
can I add something to the storage? I have an iPhone, but I use Google everything, and so you can get Google storage, and I paid $20 a year for 100 gigabytes.
That's it.
Oh, that's nice.
So, but I have an iPhone, so that's just where you want to pay that monthly charge per month for a little. I don't know. I can't remember the amount you get with Apple. So it's and I worked in wireless for years. And Michelle, you're right. We used to tell customers call, negotiate when we sold DirecTV and also Uverse. Say, hey, look, I'm willing to move to somebody else. And many times they have specials. They just won't let you know because they want to continue to get the money. So.
Yeah, and that's true. Like what you said is key. I used to work at a cell phone company too, and they want your business. So when you say, "Hey, I'm about to leave," if you don't, give me something less, then they're gonna help you out. They're gonna definitely do that. That's their job.
Yeah, and they will. That's why I said call and negotiate. Get you cheaper rates because you can have to keep paying for something that other people are getting cheaper. I don't suggest that. So you can get cheaper rates that way. But make sure you have all your due dates and everything down so you can make sure you have a practical budget and you're not living hand to mouth for one check and then you are splurging the other one because you think you have all this extra money, not realizing that you don't have a lot of extra money. You are just spending it all at the end of the month instead of possibly rolling it over to have that money. So the budget that I would suggest people to do is really a combination of cash envelopes and paying your bills automatically. So with cash envelopes, there's certain categories that we know we have a possibility to overspend in. You should do cash envelopes for those. So like gas, for instance, if you take trips places that you probably don't need to be taking trips to all the time, and if you only know you're going to budget $40, because I've been working from home since the pandemic, so $40 actually lasts for 2 weeks as opposed to it used to be a week. So you could budget $40 for gas as opposed to $60 because now you don't go as many places, or you start to realize, like, do I really, for one, you shouldn't be out in the streets because I'm ready for outside to open. I need everybody to be home. Let me not hold you. Right. And so, but you can save on gas and make that a cash envelope. Groceries, if you know you go to a grocery store and you're going to be like, oh, let me buy this and I'll buy this and I'll buy this. When you have it in cash envelopes, hey, I can't overspend on this because I've only budgeted $200 for groceries for this 2 weeks. Let me go ahead and stick to my budget. And you can start to make lists and everything, looking coupons and stuff like that to help you save money as well. But definitely, groceries is probably one of the biggest ones that people go over budget with. So I suggest doing groceries and also eating out too. Like I said, if you know that you're going to eat out, we do terrible with that because we'll be out. We'll be like, oh, let me go ahead and just grab something real fast. Yeah. So if you budget in an envelope and you're like, I have $20 that I'm going to use for this week to eat out, that's all I'm going to do. For one, it forces you to eat a little healthier because you'll start to have to cook at home. And for two, you'll start to think like, I really want to swipe my card for this when I have budgeted and I've spent all my money on it. Never mind, I'm not going to do it. So cash envelopes for that is another one. And everything else I pay through my bank account. Like most of my bills, 90% of my bills are automatic payments. So they just come out automatically. The ones that are not, typically because they won't let me do automatic payments. That way you don't have to worry, but you have to be in a good spot financially to do that. You can't have automatic payments and you just started budgeting and you don't know what you're doing. You'll put yourself in a bad situation. So I wouldn't suggest it if you're not financially savvy at that point. So those are the two that I'll suggest that you do together, just starting out, so that way you won't go over your budget. And
right. So basically, what you said right there is I think what I'm getting from that is you want to make sure you at least have some kind of consistent income to get before you go into automatic draft, because if it's not, then you can hurt yourself. And I do remember too, I used to work at a bank, and a lot of people would overdraw their accounts, and then I would go through with them, what they spent their money on. and 9 times out of 10 it was fast food.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know, it's like I had money. What happened? And with these little things here and there, mainly fast food, it caused them to get their accounts overdrawn, man. So what you're saying is so key.
It's not worth
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not worth it. That's why I said budget it, put it in the cash, and you can get cash. And I'll show you mine real quick. So this is my wallet, and in my wallet I do have like I actually do these things. I'm not just telling people to do it. So I have like my home stuff when I go buy like laundry detergent, cleaning supplies, toilet paper and stuff like that. I have my home envelope. And then this is my personal one, so I won't go crazy with buying stuff. So it's like when I get my nails done, even though I've been doing it myself, but I still have it because I'll go buy nail polishes and stuff. So this is my personal, and this is my one for gas. So that way I won't be acting all crazy with gas, because I'll just be like, fill it up, and it'd be too much. And here's fast food, I don't really like fast food anymore because I've been trying to eat healthier. But I have custody of my little cousin, and he likes McDonald's. So I do make sure I have something here for him. Once it's gone, I'm like, sir, it's gone. And then I have one because they like, so if I want to take them somewhere, I won't go overboard because they're the ones who really spend all my money. So I won't go overboard. I have an envelope for them. So if they need to, like, they want to go somewhere, or if something comes up where he has like, they don't have no field trips now, but like when they have field trips and stuff like that, or if he wanted to go somewhere or somebody called him like, hey, can he come hang out? Or the little girl, she wants to get a toy or something, I have an envelope for them. So I budget for them so they don't feel like they're kids. They don't understand though. So I do have, so I actually have my envelopes. And so I'm not saying, hey, do this, and I don't do it. Like, it helps me stay on track and I don't overspend in those areas, because those are typically the areas I overspend in. But
so let me interject right there. Prophet Sherry, it looked like your wheels were turning a little bit when Michelle was talking. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that? Anything that you wanted to say?
No, I agree with everything she's saying. I just I was tickled when she's talking about the kids, because they don't understand budget.
Right.
So that's what I was really churning.
You just think money grows on trees.
They do.
Yeah. And I know my wife, she's very generous when it comes to her our nephews, you know, especially like if they do good in school or stuff like that, you know. And so that envelope will help. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That really is. I am a swiper, so I'm like, that might help me out a little bit in certain areas, you know. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you have to know yourself too. You have to that's why I said emotionally evaluate yourself first, because you have to know yourself when you're doing your budget. You don't want to go in this blind. And if you mess up the first month, the second month, don't give up. Stick with it, because sometimes we'll mess that up. And once we mess it up, we just be like, I'm done with it. And remember, it's your budget. It's nobody else's budget. It's not my budget. It's not Dorian's budget. It's your budget. So you do what works best for you. And then as you go, you'll start to realize, like, I don't want to keep wasting this kind of money. So I'm not going to keep spending this kind of money. But always make sure you sit down and do your budget. So I have my
my main area is like, my
Michelle,
coffee in the morning,
That's why I said budget for that. Put that in the cash envelope.
Or I can just go get some from the grocery store and get a K-cup, and I don't have to go buy it every morning.
What did you say was your big thing?
Coffee in the morning.
From where?
McDonald's, actually. I like their little McCafe. I can't have caffeine, but I love the flavor, and so most of the time, even when y'all see me like doing a live driving in the morning, I'm usually either coming from or going to get my coffee from McDonald's. But that's something I can definitely cut out. And
hey, Michelle, you said an app is called Fudget.
Yep, FUDGET.
What's the difference between that and I use Mint? Is Fudget more detailed? Does it have more?
No, Mint is more detailed, but Fudget is free, and Fudget is easy for a beginner. So if you're new to budgeting, Fudget is really easy. You literally just put your income in there, you put all your bills in there, and then you start to calculate how much you're spending. Because it'll have you put your income, and then it say what you're paying with this paycheck. You put your bills you're paying with that paycheck, and then you put what you spend as you go, and it keeps track for you. And it starts to tell you, like, now you have $6 left. Now you got $3 left. So then you can look at it as you spend and see how much, like, what you have left. So if you don't have like an expense tracker, it's really good for that. Mint is really good if you're more detail oriented and you're like a little bit better with budgeting, because it does have so much in there, it can become overwhelming. So I would say for people to start, you don't want to be too overwhelmed with trying to keep track of where your money and everything is going. And that's not something you want to do. And I always tell people, whatever you do, I'm not an advocate for tithing, the tithing system. I know it's probably going to sound bad, but I'm not advocating tithing because it's not biblical. Well, it's biblical for the Old Testament. So unless we run around having a party tithe and eating it with the priest, and if we're gonna have we have a temple and we're giving it to the widows and the orphans every 3rd and 6th year, Malachi is not talking about us. But I digress. Because I know.
But you know what?
That's what this show is about.
we actually, we actually are going to talk a little bit about that. And I know, like I said, because I'm brought up a few topics about money, and I know when we talk about money, it can get kind of controversial, passionate, stuff like that. So we may have to actually do a part 2. You know what I mean? Because that's something I do. Yeah, because that's something I do want to talk about too, like the tithing part, and that can get go a little bit long. So we may touch on it and then get back to it. But yeah, Troy, thank you for bringing that up, because I've used Mint, and Mint didn't work for me because I'm a beginner with the budgeting thing. So I'm definitely gonna try to fudge it. Now, just to go to the next step. So let's say, okay, we've practiced all of your budgeting techniques. We've taken it all in. We've gotten our minds right. Okay, so we got that down. Now, what is the next step? Because everybody wants to accumulate wealth. So what is the next step after we got a good grasp on the budgeting?
Okay, so once you get a good grasp on your budgeting, there are a couple of things that you can do. First, you can, I tell everybody, have an emergency fund of $1,000, right? So you want to start building wealth and you're in debt, you need to pay your debt off first. So when you pay your debt off first, you say have an emergency fund of $1,000. And that's because if something happens to your car, if something happens to like in your house, it may not cover the whole thing, but you'll have something to where you won't be using your credit cards to fix it. So build you up an emergency fund. Make sure when you set yourself a deadline, an actual deadline, so that way you can reach it, and you won't just be putting money in and then you'll never really reach it to get to a point to pay off your debts. Once you get to the emergency fund, calculate how much your debts are. There are 2 ways that you can pay your debts off. The first way that most people do, which is the Dave Ramsey way, which would be his baby step number 2, which would be the Snowball Method. So with the Snowball Method, you pay your smallest one first, and once you pay that off, then you start taking that money. So say your payment was $25. You take all the extra money that you have, and then you put all that extra money plus the $25 payment, and you put it onto that credit card that you're paying off. So say you have one that's $200. You have $50 extra a month. That's not really extra, because you would do a $0 budget. Make sure every dollar has a job. So when you do your $0 budget, you would put into that $0 budget how much extra you want to put towards debt. So once you have that extra towards debt, then you put that, say it's $50. You put the 50 plus your $25 payment, and you put that $75 on there until you paid it off. Say it took you 2 months, took you 3 months to pay that off. So now you would take that $75 and say your next credit card was $500. You would take that $25 you put into your other credit card plus that $50. So that $75 plus the $25 payment you was putting towards that credit card. Now you have $100 that you could put towards that credit card every month until that's paid off. So basically what you're doing is you're taking all the money from all those payments that you would have made on the other ones, instead of counting as extra money, you're putting it all towards your debts to make your debts pay off faster. That one typically works better for people because you see those debt wins faster. When you see those debt wins faster, it helps you to want to stay on track, as opposed to the Avalanche Method. So the Avalanche Method is you would take your highest interest debt, and after you take your highest interest debt, you would pay that one first. Your highest interest debt may be $6,000 and your smallest debt may be $300. It'll take you a lot longer. And because it take you longer, you will be more prone to give up if you are not disciplined with paying off your debts, and you would kind of give up. So it's best to start with the snowball method. Just psychologically, it makes it easier for people. Once you get in the habit of paying off debts, you would save more money in the long run, starting off with higher interest, but you would do better to start off with the snowball method just because you will be able to stick with that. So once you get there, you can pay off your debts. Once you pay off your debts, then I'm a big advocate for giving, which is why I brought up the tithing thing. Make sure in your budget, you give something to your local body or your local assembly, because, be a cheerful giver, but make sure you put that into there. $10, $25, whatever it is, make sure you give something, because it don't run on love. So make sure you give something, because you don't want to forsake the house that you eat at. A lot of people, be like, I could put it towards my debt, which I agree. You shouldn't be in debt and it'll take too much. So make sure you purposely give something to church. I'm a really big giver, so I give whatever to anybody. But I have a sinking fund, which I'll discuss next. I have a sinking fund that I put to the side for giving anything outside of what I give to the church. So I have a sinking fund where I put like $50 a month in. So if something big comes up and somebody needs something, I don't have to just go into my money or take it out of my budget or my savings. I just have it set aside for that. So a sinking fund is, say you want to go on vacation, you will calculate how much your vacation is. You would put aside that amount of money every month, like you would divide it up. Say it's $1,200. You divide it by 12, you put $100 away every month for that vacation. You put it in the sinking fund, put it in a high yield savings account. So even though it's going towards that vacation, you'll still be earning money on your vacation money. And at the end of it, you could take your $1,200 out, but you would still have money left in there. I also tell people for car maintenance, do sinking funds for car maintenance, because you don't know what's going to happen. I think I do like $50 to $75 a month for my car maintenance for like tires and brakes and stuff like that. So if I do have to add something extra, it won't be a big burden because I put money aside every month for it. I put $100 a month for Christmas, so that way when Christmas comes and Black Friday, I already have the money. I don't have to like worry about budgeting anything outside for that. So those are what sinking funds are. So I suggest people to, like, once you get your budget down, once you're ready, and once you have like kind of realize like what works best for you, start incorporating sinking funds. That way, expenses that shouldn't be surprising to us because they all come up in our lives, again, like car repairs, house repairs, vacations, Christmas, birthdays. I have sinking funds for all of those. It just makes life a lot easier. I have one for my car insurance because I pay all my car insurance at once. Look into high yield savings accounts. Mine is through not Capital One, but it's through Discover. No, it's through American Express. So look at high yield savings accounts. Like I think it's like 1.75% interest, which is better than most banks. Yeah. Put it in a high yield savings account, so that way your sinking funds will still be making you money while you're still saving for those items, as opposed to just having it in a no bearing interest account or no bearing savings account or like a low interest bearing account. So once you get to the fact, like the point where you can do all that, you're starting to pay off your debt. So once you pay your debt off, then I tell people, like, once you pay your debt off, then you'll realize how much money you were wasting and giving away every month. Then at that point, you can, that's when you would start to pay off, like, you could pay off your house and your car as well, if that's something that you want to do. But then you would start, instead of doing that, you can start looking into Roth Iras. You can start looking into, Roth Iras is probably the best because you pay taxes on it up front. A lot of people don't like that fact, but the way our tax rates go, I suggest that you don't know how much, for one, you don't know how much your money is going to be worth 20, 30 years from now, 10 years from now. You don't know what the value of a dollar is going to be. Right. Pay the taxes on it now. So when you get ready to take it out, or you're ready to retire, then you will have all your money. You don't have to worry about it being taxed at a higher rate. For one, you accumulate all your money in the IRA. When you accumulate all your money in the IRA, they're going to tax all of it at once, as opposed to Roth. They're going to tax it before you put it in there. So for one, you're paying a lower tax rate, as opposed to having $100,000 taxed at once. You'll pay the $500 you're going to put it in. You'll pay the tax on that and then have it put in there. So Roth IRAs are one of your better interest accounts to get, like if you want to save for retirement. I will also say if you want to make extra, like I call it side hustle money, you can go to clickbank.com. That's CLICKBANK.com. And you can get like affiliate marketing money if you want to just like do affiliation. If you want to do some side hustles, you can get some side hustles, whatever you're good at. If you know how to crochet, and you know people like little crochet hats in the winter and stuff like that, you can do something like that. If you know how to like make shirts and stuff like that, you could sell shirts. If you have enough marketing skills to open up a boutique, you could open you up a boutique. Whatever it is that you know how to do, you can take that and find a way to do it. It take a lot for me to teach people about the entrepreneurial side of it, because I teach people that as well. Like, what do you need to do to kind of build your brand and build your business? I do teach people that, but that would take a whole lot more work. But if you know what you want to make money with, definitely do that to make some extra money, because the more extra money you get, A, the quicker you got into debt, B, the faster you could pay off. If your house and your car, everything's paid for and you're happy with it, I don't suggest keep buying cars, because that is not an asset, it's a liability. Mm-hmm. So always list out your assets and liabilities. A car is a liability, a house is an asset. So try to get as less liabilities as possible. So what you would do is then keep your car that you have. If nothing's wrong with it and it's fine, just keep that. And then keep putting your money into the Roth. Or you can, again, if you have a business, just invest in your business. Make sure you do a business plan. Look at the long run cost of it. How much is it going to be for a year? What is the 5-year projections? What is the return on investments? What will be my yield savings be? So those are ways that you would accumulate and build wealth. But that's why I started with budgeting, because a lot of times we want to go straight to the Roth IRA and we don't have our money together to even consider like how we're going to build this wealth. So you have to be very strategic with that. So a Roth IRA is probably the safest bet. And get in while the stock market, like everybody's like, oh, the stock market's trash, I'm probably losing all this money in my investment account. And I work in finance. I'm a director at a bank in operations for the finance department. You probably are. But the good thing is the market bounces back.
It always bounces.
And when it bounces back, you're going to have more money, because the way our stock market works, you have more money than you would have lost unless you have like really trash stocks. Most banks don't do that because they don't want their customers to leave to go to other banks. Right. Your IRA will bounce back, so you'll be fine. So if you have an employee matched IRA at work, I would suggest to do whatever they match it at. If they match it at, a certain percentage, put as much as you possibly can to get that full match, because in the long run, that will work for you as well when it comes to building wealth and accumulating wealth. So make sure you do that. And the reason why I said try to pay your house off, because it's an asset, you can either sell your house and get a bigger one, and especially if you're financially responsible, and buy more land and everything. So you have that to pass down to your kids if that's what you want to do. A lot of wealth was built by people passing down houses and then them selling those houses and then those taking that money and splitting it and doing that. So that is how some wealth is. And the biggest thing is to get life insurance as well. I know we don't look at that as a money.
You got 2 life insurance people on the line. So yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand that. Like, we don't look at that as a wealth building tool for our family, but it really is. I have like ridiculous, like people like, why do you think life insurance is that expensive? Because if something happens to me, I want to make sure my little cousin and my little sister and brother, they will have to worry about nothing. Like literally, if they never wanted to work for the rest of their life, I want to make that a reality for them. One of our biggest things we can do is to make sure we have life insurance, and it's good to have enough just to bury us, but if we're smart, we'll have enough into spare and running over. So,
right.
Michelle, I tell people life insurance is the least expensive way to leave an inheritance.
It is.
I mean, especially if you're young and healthy and don't have no health issues, is the least expensive way.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And I want to say also, I don't know if you're familiar, but I operate with IULs and different stuff like that. But one of the things that we say when you're talking about the Roth, I tell people, do you want to pay taxes on the seed or the harvest?
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
And so depending on which one they'll say, well, I want to pay it on the I want to pay it on the seed. So that's where the Roth
comes in. That's why I said Roth.
Right. Yeah.
You can't even bring up traditional because people, I don't want nobody losing out on their money.
Right. Yep.
We don't know how much money is going to be worth then. If you don't know if $5 today might be $3. So you're still going to be taxed on the $5, but it's only worth $3 when you could have been taxed on the $5 at a lower rate than you would now. And the way the interest rates vary, you will come out a lot better with a Roth IRA. I suggest Roth over the other IRAs. I also suggest like teaching your children finance at a young age too. And teaching them the rule of 72. The rule of 72 will teach them compounding interest, and you give them an account, teach them compounding interest with their account, and allow them to see how much their interest is bearing. And plus, if we start them off young, make sure they don't jack up their credit. And also, on top of not jacking up their credit, if you show them, hey, this is how you budget, this is how you save your money, set them up a UGMA or UGMA account, and allow them to see their money making money, and they'll want to keep doing it because they'll see, hey, my money's making money. If I leave it in here with the rule of 72, I'll have X amount of dollars by the time I'm 50 and I'll be set. Like I'll have a pretty decent amount of money. You tell them, keep adding money in here at $100 a month with what I already set you up for. When you're 50 years old, you'll have over $1 million. If you let it compound interest with a high interest savings account, it's easy. We just don't teach our kids these things. Like I teach my little cousin money. Like I allow him to put his change in a jar. Like I teach him, like I do the 1s and 5s challenge. If I have a 1 or a 5 left when I do my cash envelopes, I put it in my savings account, and I teach him to do the same thing. So I give him an allowance, and I teach him, you have to make sure you give something to church. And on top of giving something to church, make sure, because I want him to be a giver, like a happy giver. So I teach him, make sure you get something to church. And if he wants something big, like I'll buy him stuff. But if you're out and he want a toy, and I'll be like, how much money do you have? Do you have enough for this toy? Do you want to save money for this toy? Because now you have to learn to save money. You have to realize I can't just buy everything. It is going to be worth me having. So you teach the kids young as well, and teach them how compounding interest works. Set them up, because you can have Roths for children. Set them up with a Roth IRA. And again, life insurance on children is not a bad thing either, because as much as we love, our children in our life, we don't know what's going to happen. And you don't want to be stuck in a situation where I've seen too many people on GoFundMe asking people to help them bury their children. And that breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart, because, and it's not that the kid is bad or anything. Anything can happen. Like like the COVID, there's kids dying from COVID. Nobody expects their kids to die from this kind of thing, at young ages. So it's good to not just have life insurance for yourself, have life insurance for them too. I pay like $40 a month for my life insurance policy and the policies of my little cousin. And it's not a little policy either. So it's not a lot of money to me for the value that I would get if something happened to me. I know my family would be fine. The $40 is a small drop in the bucket for what they would get. Again, that's the easiest way to build wealth is life insurance. And I think we do ourselves a disservice not realizing that. And another easy way to build wealth is to get out of debt and stay out of debt and learn how to manage our money, because if we're not in debt, it's easy for us to put money into Roth. It's easy for us to invest in business. It's easy for us to start businesses without being concerned with, if I start this, will I lose all that I have? And if you're starting a business, keep working. Don't just quit because you make a couple dollars. See a lot of that too.
Wow.
Don't quit because you make a couple of dollars.
I'm a hybrid, and I borrowed this term. I'm a hybrid entrepreneur. So I have a business, but also I work a job. So yeah.
And I'm the same way. I have a business, but I also have my career as well. And nothing's wrong with having both. It takes a little bit more work.
It does.
It's worth it. It's worth it though. I mean, I can budget my money, live the life that I want within reason, and still not be concerned because I have both. And if something happens to my job, I'll get another one and just hustle up some more money. But it teaches me to be okay with either way. If I didn't have my side hustle, I'd still be fine because I have a pretty decent job. But those are the easiest ways to build wealth, is to make sure, emotionally look at where you're at in life, B, get a budget, stick to it. C, learn how to like do sinking funds, get life insurance. D, get life insurance. E, make sure that you are investing in a Roth. Roths are the best thing to do if you're initially investing. Mutual funds are okay too, but if you want the more bang for your buck, I would definitely suggest a Roth IRA.
This is really good to be talking
Fantastic.
about as Black people, because we are, in spite of the fact that we have $1.4 trillion in buying power, we are still on the bottom of the wealth gap. We have
Yeah.
less assets, we have less home ownership, less wealth building tools, like you said, and we all know we have less life insurance. And
Yeah.
that's my pitch as well. Like this, it's just something like you said, teach your children early so that when you do pass on and you do give them this lump sum of money, they'll know what to do with it, because that's the only way that we're gonna break this cycle. I mean, it's like we are on the very bottom, and we cannot continue to blame the man. And we
Correct.
understand stuff happened. Yes, there was, there were, housing discrimination laws. We get it. All that happened, and it was not that long ago. But now, look, like Martin Luther King said, we shall overcome. We have. So now it's time to start incorporating with this generation and the next generation. It's time to start to build assets. That's what I do. I have two companies. I have the virtual assistant, administrative assistant company, but I also have a nonprofit called the National Black Business Owners Association. And I'm not doing a shameless plug, but what I'm saying is this is what I'm,
Plug it
Promote
up.
yourself, girl. Promote
It's all
yourself.
right.
but this is what we do, because when I began to see the data about how far down we were on the wealth gap, it just tore my heart. I'm just like, why? And we know why, our Caucasian brothers and sisters, of course, a lot of their wealth was built on the back of slaves. But here's the difference. They knew how to keep their wealth. They know
Correct.
how they're taught to pass on generational wealth. They know how to keep their stuff because of the very things that Michelle just talked about. They have investment strategies in place.
Yes.
They have their life insurance policies in place. And, even on the business side, there are different insurance products available for your through your company if you're a CEO and a president that we don't even get just as regular consumers. So they know how to work all of this stuff. And we
Yeah.
as Black people, we can do better. I'm just excited about the conversation. That's probably why you saw the light bulbs going off too, because I'm like, oh, she's talking my language, man. She's talking my language, because we have to do buying homes, like you said, buying assets. That's what the wealth is measured in. It's measured in assets. So we can fix that just by buying more houses and real estate. Like, this is something that we can do. Get our credit together and buy some assets.
And not even, and I'm not knocking anybody, but we'll spend money $300 on Jordans.
Exactly.
And stuff that has no value, no assets. I remember I'm a John Maxwell certified speaker and coach, and John Maxwell said what really got him started was when he was a kid, his dad would pay him to read. He said his dad would pick out the books on his level, and he would pay him. He didn't say how much. He said it was a few dollars. He would pay him to read. Now he's internationally known, wrote many books, a speaker. So I told my son, I've known this. I have 3 grandchildren, so I told my son, my grandchildren was here last Sunday, and I said I want my grandsons I want to pay them to read. I'm gonna pay them $5. I'll pick the book, and I want to make sure they read the books. $5 for every book they read. So what I'm doing, I'm conditioning them as a young age, like Michelle said about finances, conditioning them and training them at a young age. So when they get 21, they're on a level of reading. They're constantly adding knowledge to them because they start reading at a young age.
I think that's a good idea. You know what we do as Black people? I ain't paying nobody to do what they supposed to do. You know how we do.
Right.
Right. Well, that's excellent. Now, really quick, now something I was going to say, you touched on everyone touched on a lot, and I do realize, like, when I came across a lot of Caucasian people, they do real estate like it ain't nothing. You mean I mean, like it's nothing. And the other thing they do is stocks, you know. So I think these are some of the things that they are taught at an early age. Whereas with us, you know, a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us, you know, we just consumers. You know, we buy the latest fashions and the quality stuff and stuff like that. So I think what everyone is saying is really good. Is a lot of wealth of information here. Michelle, you gave me enough to take over the world. You know, we appreciate it. I do want to share one other thing. You mentioned about tithes. Okay, let's go into that because there is, you know, obviously a lot of people believe that, you know, if you don't tithe, you know, you will be cursed by God, and you know, and so on and so forth. And I know some churches they encourage you, if you want to tithe, that's fine, but they do not you know, push tithing down your throat. So what is your take on that? And if anyone has anything different of an opinion than you know, feel free to jump in. But how do you feel? What is your take on tithes based on what the Bible says, Michelle?
Well, biblically, for one, who the Son sets free is free indeed. We're not cursed. Let's start there. The New Testament form of giving and the Old Testament form of giving are vastly different. So because a lot of times they'll appeal to Malachi 3:10, bring all you tithes to the storehouse, so they may be meat in my house. Well, he was literally talking about a storehouse where you hold actually meat and stuff, because again, the 3rd and the 6th year they gave to the widows and orphans. They stored the grain and everything there, so it was a literal storehouse. The curses was predicated upon not taking care of the Levitical priests, and again, the widows, the orphans, and the sojourners, which is the foreigners. So there were a lot of things associated with the tithing. You was also supposed to give the 7th year. There was supposed to be rest. Nobody gave anything. Nobody took the land. There was not anything. So if you want to do a biblical model of tithing, you can't even take tithes the 7th year based on what the Bible says, based on Deuteronomy chapters 13, 14, and 15, because that's what Malachi 3:10 is referencing. So tithing is not a biblical model that was seen in the New Testament. In the New Testament, Jesus actually, for one, you never seen him tithe. He did check the Pharisees. He said, you give, you know, dill and cumin, which shows that tithing wasn't even financial. They had money. We know they have money because you said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And he was talking about actual money. He wasn't talking about that, but he told them, you tithe, dill and cumin, but you reject the weightier matters. So that means that tithing was not as essential to him. And he talked about the woman who gave all she had. It was because of her heart, the intent of her heart, because she was a cheerful giver. It wasn't based off of Malachi. So that's why it's not something. And when we read the book of Acts with the, you know, the 1st century church, they were not like, oh, you never see tithing mentioned ever in Acts, because everybody just gave. They gave what they had. They gave out of their lack. They gave out of their abundance. Whatever they had, they gave it. I think we need to get that model as a church, because I feel like this. God has blessed us with finances. Again, when I say I'm a giver, I mean that. I give my time. Yeah. Carmen to tell you, I give my time. I give mentally, emotionally, everything. But I'm also very big on giving financially. I don't like people to know what I give financially, only because everybody's not there, and I don't want nobody to feel any kind of way. But I mean, if 10% is a good place for you to start when you're giving, if you don't have 10%, don't stress yourself out about it. You're not going to be cursed, and your heart is already not conditioned to give it. If you're giving it begrudgingly anyway, then there's no point to even give it. If you're not going to be careful about it, and you feel like the obligation, don't even do it, because your heart is not in the right place to even give it. To begin.
That's so good.
Yeah. So make sure whatever you're giving truthfully from your heart. And if as you go and as you grow and as you become more financially stable, you'll want to give more, because you'll see the needs that other people have. And again, in the book of Acts, they took care of the widows, they took care of the orphans like they did in the Old Testament. They made sure that people, like, nobody had any lack. The apostles didn't lack, the people in the church didn't lack, because everybody gave freely. So if we give freely, then it shouldn't be a problem. I think we have more problems with tithing because people feel feel like I have to give this 10%. I don't have this, and you're not. So between not having good money management and then being told you have to give 10%, it's not really, for one, it's not biblical. For two, to threaten somebody with curse because they're not giving something to you. Now we need to look at the church's budget. Are you guys handling the money that those who are entrusting you with the money? Are you handling it properly? Because if you're also not handling, and I honestly don't feel if you give your life to in devotion to serving the Lord, and you are, a pastor, or if you are, not just like a regular lay member, but if you are somebody who's dedicating your life to preaching the word of God, I feel you shouldn't work. So I'm not a person who pastor needs to get out. I don't feel that way. I feel if you are wholeheartedly giving your time and dedicating it to ministry, you should get something. You shouldn't be out here living hand to mouth. You shouldn't be out here in poverty. You shouldn't be out here stressed out, worrying about how you're going to take care of your family. I don't think it's fair for us to want someone to labor that much in the word to properly teach us and then expect them to have nothing. I think it's unrealistic, and it's not fair. And most churches don't bring in TD Jakes money. So a lot of people be like, "Oh, the church getting all this money." The church is not getting all this money, which is why, again, we need to be faithful and cheerful givers, because churches don't get the amount of money that people think that they're getting. So we need to be honest with our giving. But if we are also have poor money management and are in poverty, we can't give to our churches. The church used to be the foundation of the community. If somebody needed something, it was taken care of. If a bill was needed to be paid, it was taken care of. But because we have kind of gotten away from that, and we just like to consume our money on our own lust, we don't have enough to give to anybody. And we just run around with nothing. So I have, so I don't believe in tithing, but I'm very big on giving. You need to be, a giver. And again, it has to be the intent of your heart. When you first go to church, you may not give nothing, and that's fine, because your heart will change. As your heart changes, you'll want to give more. You'll want to do more.
So, and you said some excellent points. So I'm gonna open it up for the next few minutes for Sherry and Troy to say something. But you made some excellent points. The way I look at it is this: from what you were saying. If you want to give 10%, fine, you know what I mean? But make sure you're giving it cheerfully, if that's something that's going to help you stay on track, with giving unto the Lord and making sure that you're taking care of the Lord's responsibilities, I think that's a good thing, you know what I mean? But if you feel like you're going to get cursed if you don't give this 10% every week, or if the pastor is trying to intimidate you, manipulate you to give, then he definitely in error. Now, I have a question. What do you think about some ministries who they won't let you minister unless you tithe every week? I know you've heard of ministries like that. What do you think about that?
I have a problem with that. For one, if you can't be honest with the scriptures with tithing, then I can't really trust you to be honest with any of the scriptures, because you're not being theologically sound, you're not being hermeneutically sound, and you're not being exegetically sound. So I'm already going to have an issue with your teaching, because I'm going to question if you have a proper grasp on hermeneutics that you should be teaching anybody the Bible. Do you have a proper grasp on exegesis that you're teaching people? Because if you're teaching people tithing, either A, you are manipulating people, and you're being and you're not being a good teacher. So at this point, you're not being a good shepherd of those who God has given you, and you're not being honest with the word of God. So now I will start to question whatever you say. So I'm going to have a problem if you don't tithe, then you can't work in the house of the Lord. I'm going to ask you, what scripture are you using to make this standard? And again, I don't think that's not right. I don't trust you theologically. Then I'm going to start checking to make sure whatever you're teaching is going to be sound doctrine. Because if that's what you're going with, you may not have sound doctrine.
But isn't, just to play like the devil's advocate or whatever you want to call it, or lack of a better term, wouldn't that help the church budget? Like if they know, like the people, like let's say they have members and they know that they expect a certain amount from their members every week or every 2 weeks based upon their income, wouldn't that help them with their financial matters as well, the church, if they make people tithe?
No, because most people don't like to be compelled to give, and most people won't give unless they're going to be noticed at that point. If I find that churches that teach giving in the New Testament manner actually get more money from their members because their members don't feel like forced or coerced or manipulated to
Like
give
holding a gun
money.
to their head.
And and they don't feel bad about it. Like they don't feel bad if they have it. They don't feel bad if they don't, because you feel at this point like God is kind of forcing me. And then you start to get into the fact that some people start to preach the prosperity gospel unwillingly or unwittingly, because now they're over here like, oh, if you don't give, God will curse you. And you want that 30, 60, 100 fold. Well, the disciples, Paul was like, I know how to be abased and be abound. He said, I know how to be poor and have money. Basically what he said. So, I mean, the disciples were like, they wasn't like living no lavish lifestyle. So for you to say that, and that wasn't happening in the first century church, again, you're starting to preach the prosperity gospel that's not even biblical, because that's what you have to do to keep that up.
No, I
Right.
believe I do believe in tithing. My spiritual father taught us that tithing is a faith principle. So, he did not shove it down our throats. Amen. He never tried to say, "Well, you're cursed if you don't tithe," but he did teach it as a faith principle. As a former pastor, you are going to look and see, like, if you want a leadership position, but you're not sowing anything into the ministry. It's like if I enter a business partnership, don't expect me to write you a check when you didn't put any skin in the game, baby. Don't expect for me to, if you didn't put any money in, you hardly did anything, but you're going around telling everybody you're my business partner, right? But when I hit it big, then you're standing there like, okay, well, I'm the vice president. You didn't give anything. What do you mean? I feel the same way as far as ministry is concerned. Does that mean you're not gifted? No, it does not. Does it mean that God didn't call you? No, but if you really believe in this gospel, you can see, whether you believe in tithing or not, you can see that giving was done in the
Right.
church. So there's a faith principle there. So if you don't even have enough faith, and I'm not talking about if you can't give, I'm talking about you can give, you don't give, and I see you out at Longhorn right after church. Okay, that but I look and you put $2 in and you just spent $50 on a steak, but you are like, hey, I want to be, I'm called to leadership. Okay, I'm gonna consider that. And yes, are you willing to go through, are you really, like she was saying, you need to go to school, you need to be taught, all that stuff. But I am gonna look and see, okay, are you sowing anything into the vision? Because to Pastor Troy's point, the people who don't give are the ones and we don't mind giving as the church. We don't mind. That's what we are there for. But I do notice, when you saw me shaking my head real hard when he was talking about the people who don't give are the main ones, not because, and I'm not talking about the ones who can't. Again, that's a whole different ball game. It's different when you don't have money. But the ones who don't give the most are the ones who are always like, in need of something. But the people who give the most, it seems like they always have. So for me, it's a faith principle. It works for me. I believe in tithing. I tithe, and it works for me. And I've seen return after return after return. So can't nobody tell me that it does not work. Whether it's Old Testament, New Testament, it works for me. So that's all I can talk about is what works for Sherry.
And the
Right.
thing is, if it goes back to the intent of the heart.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that person is not
I
willing
agree
to
with
give to
that.
the church, not even if it's 10, even they give 5%,
Yeah.
if they are giving of all of their time, say they don't have a lot of money. If they don't
Yeah.
have a lot of money and they're giving their time and
I
they're
agree with that
dedicated
too.
to the church, then no amount of money is going to change their dedication that they have. They shouldn't be they shouldn't be held down on, oh, you didn't give A, B, and C, so therefore you can't hold ministry, because what we give, it may not always be financial. Everybody may not be in a financial position to be a giver. So if you're at Longhorn and you
Yeah.
get $2, again, that goes back to the intent of your heart. What is the intent of your heart? Are you, because you may not naturally be a giver.
Yeah,
So
I
what is
agree
the,
with that too.
and
I
that
do
goes
agree
back
with
to the,
time. Time counts as well. It
yeah,
does.
and
Service
so
counts.
so with that, we can't be like, oh, because you didn't give 10%, no, you can't hold position in ministry. I think it comes with, for one, that person should be mature in ministry. Two, that person should be a servant. We're called to be servants. We're not called to be really anything else, because it says, well done, my good and faithful servant. We're called to be servants. Is this person serving? Is this person, giving of their talent? Are they giving of their time as well? So it's not just predicated on money. It has a
No,
whole lot
it's
of
not.
other things that become are because if you have a discipleship program in your church, because all churches should have discipleship programs. If you
Hmm.
have a discipleship program in your church, did this person do well in discipleship? Have they now created other disciples? Are they able to go out and minister the gospel? Can they give the gospel? Do they know what the gospel is? Are they able to minister to others? Like, and minister doesn't always mean the pulpit.
True.
Can you exhort people? Can you encourage people?
Hmm.
Can you correct people? Because a lot of people are scared to correct people. Can you correct people? A lot more goes into being in leadership or being in a position in church than just money. And the
Absolutely.
only reason why I don't really consider a faith principle, because it doesn't work across the board for everybody. Because there's people in other countries who will believe in tithing and give 10%, and they'll never see the kind of returns that we see in America. We have to be honest with, is it something that can be said across all genres? It cannot. And
Well, that's
because
why I
the
said it works for
country,
me. That's why I
yeah,
said it
yeah,
that way.
that's what I'm saying. If it works for you, then I would say, hey, keep doing it. But
Mm.
because it doesn't work for everybody, I wouldn't call it a faith principle, and I wouldn't really teach it because it doesn't work for everybody. Now, if it did work for everybody, I'll be right there with you. Like, let's
Hmm.
let's all do that. It doesn't, and that's the only thing that that's another issue that I have with it too, which is why I don't like the prosperity gospel or the word of faith doctrine. Not even a doctrine, the word of faith heresy, because it doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work across the board.
Yeah.
It produces work-based salvation. We don't have a works-based
I agree with
salvation.
that.
So those are some of the things that come out of it. So it's like we have to look at the basis of this doctrine, like whatever it is, look at the basis of it. And then we have to look at what comes out of it from what we teach from that. Well, I teach this. So now I'm teaching this in order for this to keep going. Now I have to teach this. And now we start to get in areas and arenas that are not biblical. And
Right.
one of the biggest issues I have with it. If 10% is your base and you're like, hey, this will keep me on track, go for it. If
Hmm.
that's not
Yeah.
something that you have to give the intent of your heart as you learn and grow, and like, I don't tell people how to dress. When people are like, oh, they shouldn't wear it to church. We have to teach people the gospel, give people the gospel, do
Catch the
life with
fish before
people.
you scale it. Right.
Yeah, we have to do life with people. And as we do life with people, we will watch the gospel, we will watch the word of God change their life. They
Yeah.
will then change the outward appearance on their own. Because
True.
so that's where I'm at. If we do life with people and they see us being givers, they will want to be givers. If we're just running around and we're not doing life with people and we expect them to give, we have failed as the church, for one. And for two, we're not being good examples or good stewards either. So that comes again with discipleship, evangelism, the intent of the heart comes
Yeah.
with, what does the church look like?
Oh,
What
never
does
mind. You still
Yeah, I agree with everything you
say
said.
hi.
Hey. I agree with
Go
everything
ahead.
you said. It has to be, it does have to be from the heart. And here's what I found out though. Here's what I found. And like I said, I'm talking from the perspective of a pastor. The same people, when they don't give, or sometimes they feel like you're holding them back or whatever, they go and start a church, right? And guess what they're expecting? They're expecting seed. And then they come back and they're like, oh my God, it's such a struggle, it's such this, it's such that. Well, you know, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. If you didn't think enough to sow, now you're on the other side. Now you're expecting all these people to sow to you, or to sow to your ministry. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. And that's a New Testament scripture. And it's not always talking about things that you do. It also talks about that thing is across the board. And so I found, like I said, I've seen people and they left the ministry or they wouldn't go do their own thing. And those are the main ones who, like you said, and they've been taught to give. They know, they've seen the examples. They know. But sometimes they just don't, because maybe they just don't have the faith to give. Like I said, they'll have the faith. It's like, you want to give, but you thinking about, okay, and you do have to balance your budget. Please, I'm not teaching no irresponsibility. Please pay your bills, people, please.
Yeah.
Uh, please, please, please. But like I said, you said you can budget that in as well. Budget, like you said, budget what you're going to give to the church. But again, oh, I'm not going to give to the church. But like I said, but you can go and blow money on something that, you know, it's like, where's your heart? Where your
Yeah, that's the
treasure is,
key,
where your
the heart.
heart, where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. But then again, but they'll go and try to start their own ministry, and then they'll be sitting there all frustrated and upset because nobody's giving, and they're like, oh, I'm struggling, I got to come out of my own pocket with this, I got to come out of my own pocket with that. And I'm just telling you what I've seen from experience. But at the same time, I'm like, look, but if you look back though, you know, you got the same kind of people that you were when you were here. You reap the same kind of people that you of the same seed that you planted when you were here. So you cannot sit back and be like, oh man, like it's, you know, then they're like, oh, it's so hard. I'm like, you, first of all, you were the main one doing all the fussing and complaining. You wouldn't sow, and then you expected this big harvest when you started ministry. It doesn't work like that. It's like, you know, but I agree. Do I think I'm not one to be like teaching you're gonna be cursed with a curse? I don't do that. I said, my spiritual father, he didn't do that to me. He didn't do that to us. I don't do it either. But I do encourage people to give. I do encourage people to sow, not just because the church needs it, but it's like, you know, there is a reaping when you do sow. Like, I know it works. It works. It works. And, you know, I know people in Africa, you know, I sow over there. You know, I don't just always just sow to just one place, but I know that it works. And I've known people in Africa who are struggling, but you know what? I gave my last of this, I gave my last of that, and they're inboxing me with the testimony because they sold, you know, what they had. So again, it, like you said, it goes back to the intention of the heart. It does go back to being a cheerful giver, you know, but you know, I just, you know, you reap what you sow. You do.
Right.
Sowing is necessary.
Right. Well, listen, we've had a great discussion. Thank you so much, Michelle Turner. You gave us some
It was great.
wonderful jewels. I almost want to call you Apostle Michelle, but you give us some.
I don't like titles.
Some great tools.
Apologist, but I don't even like that title.
You're urban apologist, so we got to have you on again. Thank you so much, Prophetess Sherry. Troy, he had to go. He has some ministry's duties, but we got about 1 minute, and it's going to cut off. So I want to say God bless to everyone. Love you all. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for everybody tuning in. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
That was good.